Welcome to 10 Minutes With. It's a podcast for people who want to listen to podcasts but don't have all day. We've got a quick chat with someone you might be interested in learning more about in about 10 minutes. Laura Story is a wife, mother, and worship leader, and she celebrated her recent birthday with family life. As you look back on this past year, Laura, what is your most memorable moment?
Probably the most memorable moment was when you and I were supposed to hang out that time and you got COVID.
that was like 3 weeks ago. That's like your most memorable moment of the whole year is when I almost...
But I can't be on the radio with you and not mention you ditching me.
I'm sorry. It was supposed to be a really good cup of coffee, but I didn't want you to get sick, and you had Timothy with you, and so I felt really bad.
That's true. Oh man, but for real, I've had so many great moments. Our kids are 11, 9, 9, and 6. So they're finally everyone's potty trained. People can carry their own stuff when we go places. They usually have their shoes on without me having to remind them. And so it's just this fun time, and everyone's doing well. Everyone's loving school and sports and all the stuff. And so I can't necessarily say one specific moment, except that I feel like we're finally, we're thriving as a family. It's going well.
At some point, you're going to realize that this guy who lives in your house, Martin, you and him, you used to really like each other, and you'll realize you like each other again.
Oh my gosh, I've heard of this. I've heard of this happening. I've heard that we could actually have say sentences to each other without being interrupted 8 times.
That day is
We could
coming.
actually find out the answer to the question, "How are you?"
The whole answer.
The whole answer, yeah.
What is the best advice that you have received this year?
I mean, literally something came to mind immediately. Someone told me the other day, they said, everyone's always worried about I'm scared I'm going to drop the ball on this, da, 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 da. And they said, you are going to drop the ball. Just know that when you have young kids and have a lot of kids and you're working, you're going to drop the ball. It's just about figuring out which balls are glass and which balls are rubber. Some balls you can drop and they'll just bounce back and it'll be fine. And so that's really helped me a little bit to think, I'm not going to do everything perfectly, but just figure out what's the most important thing to focus on now.
So what's glass to you and what's rubber to you?
One of the things with the kids, it's so easy to focus on them getting everything done on time with homework and every form turned in, rather than when my child comes home and I see that look on their face that something just did not go quite right at school, and pulling them aside. Usually for me, it's our closet. I know that sounds so silly, but it's the only quiet, private spot. I'll say, hey, let's go up to my closet for a few minutes, and we'll sit down and I'll say, just tell me about school. Was there anything that bothered you about today? And they're all 4 of my kids are, every grade, there's just a different challenge, whether it's with school or friends or them, trying to decide how they feel about themselves, and making sure I'm not missing those moments because I'm so focused on the tasks.
As you get ready to start this new year, what is something that you're looking forward to for you? If it was going to be the year of Laura Story, what would it be?
I want to be more present in every moment. I don't know about you. I have a lot of devices. I have a phone where anyone can get a hold of me anytime. I can check my email anytime. I have a watch. In case I don't hear the phone, I have a watch that buzzes me when someone's trying to get a hold of me. And I've always thought that these things are really cool and really helpful. And I'm starting to realize sometimes I just need to take all of it and put it somewhere and just be present in the moment. And I know that sounds super easy, but it really can be, it can be hard to pull away from all the stuff. And I'm realizing this year, I just want to do a better job of being more present, less distracted, but also modeling to my kids that you don't have to have a device in order for that moment to be interesting. You know how we used to, before all this technology stuff, we'd sit around and you'd say hey, how many people do you think live in New York City? And you'd say, I don't know. And we'd kind of rather, we wouldn't just look it up. You know what I mean? like we would just hang out and talk about things and reflect on things. I feel like we're kind of missing that, just kind of being without devices and being without all the information, and just kind of the dreaming that used to happen without all that. I don't know. Does that sound too idealistic?
Yeah, no, that's good. Hold on. I want to text that to myself so that I don't forget.
You're a mess. You're such a mess.
Hey, you're a mess too. Don't make it sound like it's just me. We are so connected to the phone, and you can leave your ringer on, like in case there's an emergency and somebody calls you. But just to put it in a drawer for like 30 minutes, and like no TV, no screens, like read a book, go outside, look at the window, like paint a painting, write a song. I don't just do something that is not connected to that device.
Are you familiar with Justin Early? He has a lot of writing on this kind of stuff, and he has a book called Habits of the Household. Anyway, he came to our church and talked, and he was talking about he said, I've started turning my phone off for 1 hour every day, he said at first it was like, can I really do this? And he said he turned it off for an hour. And then, when he turned it back on, he realized like nothing had happened during that hour. And B, he's like, actually, I'm really not as important as I thought I was. There are very, very few like real emergencies where I need this person right now. And I just thought that was kind of neat. And so I'm kind of trying that a little bit, to put my device away for a few hours, or whatever that looks like. Partly because my kids are not to the age of the device stuff yet. And so I kind of feel like they're just little note takers, like they're just watching me and how I use my phone. And it's like, no, wait, no, those aren't the notes that I'm wanting you to be taking. I don't want them storing up all of these habits that I have for when they get a phone. I want to be living out something different.
Have you and Martin talked about when they're going to get technology?
Yes. And we don't have a hard, fast rule yet. And our situation, everyone's situation looks different as far as who needs stuff when. Josie, she's 11. We're allowing her to use our iPad. She has another little friend whose mom's letting her use our iPad. And like, I looked at their conversation the other day, and it was like, hey, what are you doing? Nothing. What are you doing? Nothing. Bye. It's like, well, there you go.
That tracks.
Yeah. So there, very slowly, but she won't get a phone for a while. And when she does, we're pretty sure that she won't get social media for an even longer while, because so many things are coming out saying that we got to let these kids grow up a little bit more before we should allow them to be tempted by both the pressures and the addiction of certain kinds of technology and things like social media.
Yeah, not everybody needs to know what everybody else thinks about them at the age of 13.
Isn't that the truth? And think about how, we're a mess. Yeah. We're a mess now, but think about how much more of a mess I would have been. I had all of that information all the time. I just think it's too much.
Let's say that you could enjoy a birthday treat without having anybody stick their fingers in it ahead of time. What would it be?
Wow. It's hard to even imagine such a situation. Well, for birthday, I would probably say an ice cream cake, or just an ice cream sundae would be great. I love ice cream.
So what would be your ice cream sundae ideal? Like, does it start with a gooey brownie? Are you the cookie kind of person? Do you do the fruit on top? What's it going to be?
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, we want to know the flavors, the number of scoops. Are you whipped cream, no whipped cream, cherry? What's the deal?
Well, I say an ice cream sundae. I would love like a Breyer's mint chocolate chip. Just a big bowl of that would be fine. Or I wouldn't even have to use the bowl. I could just grab the carton. I've done it before. I could do it again. Yeah.
What sparks your creativity?
In order to be creative, you have to have some sort of little margins in your life. We talk about, not having, like how we begin to feel when we don't have margins, and like talking about like figurative margins. It's kind of like the same when you think about a piece of paper with margins, and the margins are the areas where you get to kind of reflect on the content and kind of make notes on the content. And I feel like when I live in a way that doesn't have margins, there's no time of reflection. There's no time of kind of evaluating the content of my life. So creativity very much requires some downtime. Like you just go from thing to thing, and when you're operating like that, just with such busyness, oftentimes you don't ever get to think about like how you felt about the thing that just happened, or what you're thinking about the thing that's about to happen. And that's when I get in really an unhealthy place, and definitely no creativity. So when I create when I have a little bit of downtime, just to kind of reflect on what's happening in my life and what the Lord is wanting to say to me about what's happening in my life.
You're coming to Family Life in
I
April.
know. I
We have
can't wait.
Yep, 2 nights of dinner concerts. And if you've ever been at an event with Laura Story, you know it is a solemn, perfectly crafted, deeply theological night. No, you're one of those people who kind of
Did you
embraces.
say solemn?
I did. You're someone who's comfortable with kind of the messiness of life, and
Yes.
that often
Yes.
makes it to stage. It's what makes you fun.
I know. But thank you for noticing that I do like a good laugh. But you guys, it's not just me coming and having fun. Like, you guys are a fun station to visit, and the people that come to your events are just the nicest people.
Is that was a period, not a comma? I thought you were going to say, so I'm really looking forward to.
So I am really looking forward to being with you guys.
What is a Laura Story concert like?
It's worship, because I'm a worship leader back here at my church in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here at Perimeter Church for 19 years now, which is crazy. So we're going to sing together. I'm going to sing some songs I've written. I'm going to share some stories about how God has been faithful in the midst of my life, not necessarily turning out like I thought it would. And usually as I'm sharing my stories, there's just a openness of the people there to share their stories as well, and just to consider how might God show up in my life not looking exactly like I thought it would. And it's just always such a sweet time. I know that I'm encouraged in my faith every time I get to do an event like this. And so that's my prayer for everyone who attends, that it would be a night of encouragement.
And April in this part of the world is glorious because we're
Oh, yes.
emerging from a deep gray slushiness, and every new tulip is like a promise of eternal happiness.
Well, and I appreciate you guys having me in April, because do you remember that last time I came, it was either January or February.
Miserable.
I just remember wearing all of my clothes. And it was like multiple feet of snow.
Yes.
It was for this southerner. I really thought, like, I was worried about you guys. When I got on the plane to go back, I thought, I don't know if I should leave y'all here. I don't know if you'll survive. If there's flurries like a state away, we cancel everything.
Right.
Like, we can't handle it.
Yeah, no, we have football games in that kind of weather.
That's crazy.
Right. Laura Story is joining us for 2 dinner concerts in Bath, New York in April 2025. You can reserve your tickets now on the events page at familylife.org. If you've enjoyed this episode of 10 Minutes With, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. You might also consider giving to Family Life, the listener-funded ministry that makes this and other podcasts possible. Just go to familylife.org and find out more about what we do. Did you know Family Life offers a variety of podcasts? Get up to date with Family Life news or enjoy some family time with Family Life kids. There's If That Makes Sense, a Family Life original podcast where they talk about what life is really like as a Christian in your 20s. And Terese Talk, a podcast with help for women to better serve their families and community. They're all free and on demand at familylife.org/podcast.